Good afternoon. It's 2 o'clock. I'd like to begin this hearing of the Bethany Beach Board of Adjustments for the purpose of considering an application submitted by Huff and Satterfield Construction Company, LLC, a building contractor, on behalf of property owners Paul Day and Janet McCready for the property identified as Block 5, Lot 6 at 104 2nd Street in the R1 Residential Zoning District of Bethany Beach, Delaware. Applicants seek variances from Section 425 Zoning, Attachment 5, Trade-off Chart for R1 and R1B districts under the maximum lot coverage of 40% from the requirement to add a minimum of 2 feet to either the front and or side setbacks, and also from the maximum lot coverage of 40% requirement limiting front yard encroachments to those permitted by Appendix 3, footnote B. Let the record show that all 4 members of the board are present. I ask that each of the board members speak his name for the record at this time in order to facilitate identification of voices in preparing the transcript of this proceeding. My name is Michael Loftus.
My name is Sherwin Weinstock.
My name is Steve Boyce.
My name is Jonathan Johnson.
We also have with us Susan Frederick, the town's building inspector, and Raylene Menominee, the clerk to the board. The application and associated documents are part of the record and have been marked as Appendix 1. Before we begin the hearing, I have a few preliminary matters. First, I want to note for the record 3 recent changes to the composition of the board. In December of last year, board member Jack Gordon resigned from the board. Jack is a former town council member and mayor and was a highly regarded member of this board for many years. The board wishes to express its gratitude to Jack for his service and valuable contributions to this board and to the community of Bethany Beach. On January 17, 2025, Jonathan Johnson was confirmed by the town council as a new member of the board. The board welcomes him and looks forward to working with him. On February 22nd, 2025, board member Tempe Steen resigned from the board. Although Tempe's tenure on the board was brief, she contributed significantly to the board during that time. The board is sorry to lose her. She will be missed. Another piece of board housekeeping we need to address. Under Section 425-101A of the board's enabling statute, the chair and the secretary of the board are selected by the members from among themselves. Since we have a newly constituted membership, with Tempe's departure and Jonathan's arrival, it is timely to elect a chair and a secretary. So I ask, does any member of the board have a motion to fill the chairmanship?
I nominate you, Mike, to be. I nominate you, Mike. What's your last name?
Loftus.
Thank you. To be chairman of the board.
A second?
Terrible with last
A
names.
second.
All right, we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thank you. The motion carries. I will serve as chair. Does anyone have a motion for who might serve as secretary? Our current secretary is Mr. Boyce. Would you be willing to continue to serve as secretary?
Yes, if nominated, yes.
I move that Mr. Boyce serve as secretary. Second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. The motion carries. Thank you, Steve, for your continuing willingness to serve. As a final preliminary matter, I want to note for the record that I live in a house on 2nd Street, near Pennsylvania Avenue. The property involved in this matter is located on the other end of the block, near Atlantic Avenue. I believe I met the applicants briefly on a few occasions quite a few years ago, when they were neighbors on Hollywood Street of my brother-in-law. But I have no meaningful relationship with the applicants. I do not believe that either of these circumstances are location on the block, and my fleeting acquaintance with the applicant several years ago will affect my ability to be fair and impartial in this matter. I do not have any financial or personal interest or relationship with the parties or the property. Neither I nor any relative have any personal or private interest in the outcome of the issues presented. With that, I'd like to proceed to address the publication requirements for the hearing. Susan, would you please state your name and position for the record?
Susan Frederick, Building Inspector.
Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth during this proceeding?
I do.
Did the town place a notice of this hearing in public places?
Yes.
And when was that done?
That was done March 14th, 2025.
And is this the notice that was placed at that time?
Yes.
In what places did you post the copies of the notice?
Posted at Town Hall, the bank, the library, and I believe 2 locations at the boardwalk.
And all of those were done on March 14 of 2025?
Yes.
Did the town cause a copy of the notice to be published?
Yes.
And was it the same public notice that we had before us?
Yes.
In what papers did the notice appear?
The notice appeared in the Cape Gazette on March 11th, 2025, and in the Coastal Point newspaper on March 14th, 2025.
Did the town send by first-class mail addressed to property owners within 200 feet of the subject property a copy of the information required to be posted on the property?
Yes.
And when was that done?
March 14th, 2025.
Did the town place a notice of this hearing on the property?
Yes.
And when was that done?
March 14th, 2025.
And that notice was the same as the text we have before us?
Yes.
In the absence of any objection, I find the notice of this meeting has been posted and published consistent with Section 425, Part 107 of the Code. The posted public notice is to be marked as applicants to the newspaper proof is part of that, so it will be included as Appendix 2. At this point, I'd like to describe briefly the order of events that we'll go through. As we proceed with this hearing, all testimony will be sworn. Participants, once sworn, remain under oath until we finish the hearing. We will begin with a synopsis of the application by the town building inspector, followed by questions by the board. I want to explain for those who may not be familiar with our procedures that the board members have received copies of the application and any attachments, and the town building inspector's synopsis of the application well in advance of this hearing. We also received copies of any statements that are filed in support or opposition to the application for our review prior to the hearing. In this case, there have been no such filings. But the important point is that the board members have reviewed and considered these written materials as well as relevant town code provisions in preparation for this hearing. After we have concluded discussion of the town building inspector's synopsis, we will have a presentation of applicant's evidence with questions, cross-examination, and an opportunity for opponents to present additional testimony. An opportunity for statements from the public in favor of the application. Is there anyone present wishing to make a statement in support of the application? I see none. No, you are the applicants. Yeah. Then we would be followed by presentation of any opponent's evidence. And I ask if there are any persons present who intend to make a statement in opposition to the application. I see none. At the close of the giving of all evidence, the applicants may give rebuttal evidence, closing argument, and then the board will deliberate and may vote if we finish deliberations today. However, such a vote is only to be considered part of preliminary deliberations. In accordance with the state sunshine law, the board members have not discussed the application or any evidence submitted in written form prior to this hearing. As a result, these deliberations will be the first time the board members learn the views of the other members. The final decision approved by a majority of the board, which may be a written opinion, is the official position and decision of the board. Appeals to Superior Court from the board's decision must be made within 30 days of the filing of the decision with the town. Susan, would you please provide your synopsis of the application?
Yes, sir. This is Board of Adjustment Case 2025-1 for 104 2nd Street, Block 5, Lot 6. An application for variances from Chapter 425-26 and Attachment 5 Trade-off Chart. Robert Huff of Huff and Satterfield Construction Company for property owners Paul J. and Janet McCready for property identified as Block 5, Lot 6, addressed as 104 2nd Street, is seeking variances from Chapter 425 zoning, specifically Chapter 425-26 residential bulk density in the R1 and R1B districts, and from Chapter 425 zoning attachment 5 trade-off chart for R1 and R1B districts to allow for a proposed second floor addition to a non-conforming structure. Zoning requirements in the R1 district. The residential zone R1 requires the minimum lot area per single dwelling unit to be 5,000 square feet for interior lots. The minimum street frontage is 40 feet minimum for an interior lot. The maximum lot coverage is 40%. The setbacks for single dwelling units are 20 feet front, 15 feet rear, and 7 feet sides. Front stairs are permitted to encroach into the front setback, but no closer than 10 feet from the property line. Accessory structures such as sheds and garages are permitted to encroach into both the rear and side setbacks, but must be a minimum of 5 feet from either property line. The property at 104 Second Street is a 40.11 by 124.91, each side varies slightly, approximately 5,028 square feet in area, improved with a single-family dwelling of indeterminate age and a standalone garage. County records show a date of 1953, but no town permit was found. The total existing lot coverage for all improvements is approximately 2,456 square feet, or approximately 49%. The front porch is 12 feet from the front property line. The front landing is 7.4 feet from the front property line. The front porch is also 1.3 feet from the west side property line and 2.6 feet from the east side property line. The rear setback for the house is 45.4 feet. The garage also encroaches into the side setback. Proposed second-story addition. The applicants are proposing to remove a second-floor deck and add a second-story addition over an existing first-floor deck. The proposed addition adds to the overall massing and bulk of the building, but will not add to the lot coverage and will meet the side and rear setbacks. However, Chapter 425-26, residential bulk density in the R1 and R1B districts, states under 425-26A, 3, 4, and 5 the following. 1. New residential buildings and major renovations should incorporate structural elements that are consistent with the best architectural elements that characterize the particular neighborhood involved. Elements to consider in the review of architectural plans include mass, bulk, scale, building height, roof lines, wall planes, and lot coverage. 2. In order to encourage the incorporation of desirable architectural features in plans for new construction and major renovations and balance the interest of property owners, a system of trade-offs or construction options should be created. And 3, the Town Council has further determined that this section shall apply only in the R1 and R1B residential zoning districts, where the greatest impact of massing, bulk, and scale of new residential projects was found. This is due to factors such as greater density, narrower lots, and lower grades requiring houses to be elevated to meet flood regulations. The code defines bulk, bulk density, and mass as follows. Bulk is a subjective term for the part or parts of a building's mass which constitute the largest general shape or shapes of a building. Bulk density is a numerical ratio of standard dwelling units per ground area, especially how it relates to the size and scale of the existing dwelling units that comprise an established neighborhood. Mass is the three-dimensional bulk of a residential building, its height, width, and depth. Massing is the composition and shape of a residential building's mass. The maximum lot coverage is 40%, and Attachment 5 trade-off chart for R1 and R1B district only goes up to the maximum lot coverage permitted. The lot coverage is not changing, but the bulk of the building is being increased. Using the trade-offs for the maximum lot coverage permitted as the most restrictive requirement would require the structure using the trade-offs for the maximum lot coverage permitted as the most restrictive requirement would require that the structure increase the front or side setbacks, and front encroachments would be limited to those permitted by Appendix 3, footnote B. Neither of these requirements are possible with the current conditions. The applicants are not requesting any variances for existing conditions. The applicants are asking the following specific variances. Variance from Attachment 5 trade-off chart for R1 and R1B districts under a maximum lot coverage of 40% from the requirement to add a minimum sum of 2 feet to either the front and/or side setbacks. Number 2, a variance from attachment 5 trade-off chart for R1 and R1B districts under the maximum lot coverage of 40% from the requirement limiting front yard encroachments to those permitted by Appendix 3, footnote B. Any questions?
Yes. You say that you have found county records with a date of 1953. I guess that's 72 years ago. But no town permit was found. When you say no town permit, you're talking about a building permit?
Yes, there's no record from that time period, and I went all the way back to our first permits and looked through and could not find anything.
Okay. Do you know how many other houses there are in the R1 district that are of that age, 70 years or more?
Off the top of my head, just one, because I've been working with someone recently, but not really.
Okay. Sherman?
Oh, yes, thank you, Susan. You answered half of my question about the age of the house. Are there other historical houses that are outside the setbacks, current setbacks?
I'm sure there are. We have a system of granting historical plaques to some houses upon request and upon researching their history. We do not have any on historical registry. We do not have anything that prohibits changing a historic structure, demolishing a historic structure, historic to us, in our code.
Okay, thank you. So if this renovation is to the second floor, would any renovation come before, would any exterior renovation come before this board, given the situation with this house?
I think so, because of the way that bulk density ordinance is worded. I think if there is any way that a building is adding some bulk to their building, some massing, that section applies, and so would then the trade-off chart, which can be problematic for older homes.
So with your answer, then my next question, would reducing the scope of this renovation avoid the need for a variance? And I guess not.
No. I think that, no, I'd have to really know what that meant.
Okay, thank you. So, the renovation includes plans to add an office. So if that should be changed sometime during the construction or after occupancy, should that have changed to a bedroom? Would they let you know that, or do you need to be involved in that?
I would hope so, because I'd want to make sure that the had egress windows, for example, had sufficient parking under the ordinances. So, yeah, I would kind of hope that, but I don't know that that's.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Susan.
You're welcome.
I'm good.
Any questions, John?
May I address questions to the applicant or just to Susan at this
Not
point?
at this point.
Very good. The addition as proposed is most visible from kind of the rear of the house, the sides and the rear.
Could you speak into the microphone?
Forgive me. The proposed addition is most visible from the rear of the house. The alleyway behind it, is that a public right-of-way?
Yes, it belongs to the town.
Very good.
Any further questions? Susan, you state that this is on the second page in the paragraph below the definitions. You state the requirements, and then you say neither of these requirements are possible with the current conditions. Are you saying that it's truly impossible, or are you saying it would be extremely disruptive and expensive to try and do it?
Basically disruptive and expensive to do it. The current setbacks are minimal and not to code, and the limited front yard that they have, they'd have to find another way to, I guess, get in the porch or just demolish it totally.
Right. Okay. When you mention that the applicants are not requesting any other variances for nonconformities, you're not suggesting that they're required to do so, are you?
No, I just wanted to clarify that they are not seeking, we don't know when, I don't know when these were there. I know the code changes over time. I know somehow they were allowed to be there for this extended period of time. All they want to do is add to it, and our new code section requires additional setbacks, additional things that they can't meet. They don't want to get variances for having over 40% lot coverage.
Right.
They don't-
The grandfathered conditions
Yes.
do not require a variance at this point.
I would say they do not. I believe that the history of them means that they predate quite a bit of the code.
Okay. I have no further questions. Thank you. Anybody else?
Yeah, coming on, back on that is that the design, the proposed addition will remain strictly within the established non-conforming setbacks. Correct.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, the addition, the way it's proposed, it will stay within the non-conforming setbacks as they are now. It won't go any further.
It's not, no, it will comply with current code for setbacks.
Okay.
It will comply with these side setbacks of 7 feet, the rear setback, of course, and it's not in the front, so. No, it'll be fully in compliance with what the code requires today.
Okay.
And when you say it, you're talking about the new addition?
Yes.
Right, okay. Anything further? All right. We'll now hear from the applicant, who will be speaking on behalf of the owners. Excuse me, you need to, yes, sir, please. Please state your name,
I'm
And
Paul
your-
McCready,
address.
104 Second Street in Bethany Beach, also in Wilmington, Delaware. But I just wanted to say, you were talking about the age of it, and you don't have any records before 1953. The house actually is the first house that was built in Bethany Beach. It was built in 1901. So, you know, it was way before any zoning things were here. Just so that's why we're, I think, out of, you know, zoning regulations with all the stuff you're talking about. So I just wanted to let you know that.
Well, that's interesting. You know that for a fact?
Yes.
Did you know the prior owners?
Yeah, Paul Blinkhorn, yeah, and yeah, I mean, a lot of the old house, like in the, 100 Years in Bethany Beach, that book, a lot of that has to do with Errett cottages, because I think they knew the Errett family, but ours wasn't the Errett family. I'm not sure who it was before Paul Blinkhorn. He got it in 1970. But yeah, our house is the first house built in Bethany Beach, and it was built in 1901.
This is not the first time, but I forgot to swear you in.
Oh, I swear.
Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth in this proceeding?
I do.
And did you tell the truth in what you said before I swore you in?
I did.
Okay, thank you.
So I just wanted to clear that up, but now, yeah. Oh, it's also a plaque. It's a plaque given by Bethany Beach. And it says that our house is the first house of the 5 houses built by John Addy, and it was built in 1901.
Very well, thank you, sir. Not necessary, thank you. Over there at the podium, please, yes. Please state your names and your business addresses for the record.
All right, my name is Robert Huff, business owner of Huff and Satterfield Construction Company, LLC. Business address is 4583 Johnny Cake Landing Road in Frederica, Delaware, 19946.
Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth in this proceeding?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
My name's Roger Satterfield. I am the other half of Huff and Satterfield Construction. Business address is 4583 Johnny Cake Landing Road, Frederica, Delaware, 19946.
Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth in this
Yes, sir.
proceeding? Thank you. Proceed.
You want me to talk? Go ahead if you want. Okay. I guess we're here today, and everybody, you guys have looked over our stuff, and Susan has, and I'm sure we have some local residents here. We were just here in behalf of the McCready's and trying to push through with this addition that they would like to propose that's been proposed. With the stipulations and the current day, with the age of the existing home and the setbacks, as Susan said, and Rob and myself have looked through all the town's codings and the density ordinance and the trade-offs. It is pretty much impossible for us to meet the trade-off systems with adding to the home without jeopardizing the existing old structure, which is something that, in our behalf, speaking for the McCready's, that they love this old structure. It still looks old inside. It's original fireplace, it's original flooring, original wood, stairs, and that's what they want. They want to maintain that look of the exterior. They want to maintain everything inside. What we're proposing as far as the addition, as Susan said, will be within today's side yard setbacks and rear setbacks. We are not adding any coverage. We're going over top of existing deck and structure that is there, that is already accounted for. As far as the new proposed, we want to maintain even the new addition so it looks like part of the old structure. It will be finished with natural red cedar trims. It's not going to have hardy or any of our new composites on it. We want to try to make it blend in the best we can with the existing home. So eventually it will look like it was part of it. So.
I'm not sure if you guys have had any chance to read over the variance requests, and basically it was kind of repeating what he said as far as maintaining the age, not just being able to keep some of the Bethany history still here in the town and not come in and completely demolish a home has some historic value, being one of the first 5 homes built by that gentleman, and building something new, but keeping what's there and adding to it so they can accommodate their growing family and be down here to work and have all their families here visiting, using the office space and whatnot.
I can assure you that all of the board members have reviewed the application and the supporting materials. So, is there anything else you'd like to say before we start asking questions?
I don't think so. No.
I think you've already said this, but I'd just like to be clear on it. And I used my magnifying glass, and I think I saw it on these various documents that were attached. All the materials that will be used are the same materials that were used to construct the original structure, and they will match. The shingles, all of the elements will be the same.
Yes, that is
Correct.
And so, I guess they won't be weathered at that point, but eventually they will be weathered to look like part of the original structure.
Yes.
Okay. Sherwin?
Yes, thank you. Will there be any renovating to the first floor?
Of the existing structure right now? No. No, all that we're planning on doing is adding above the current rear deck structure, adding the second floor above it, and maintaining within all current setbacks that the town has right now.
Okay. Now, again, like with Mike, I was using him for this to see the plans.
I do have a full-size set if you would like to see it.
Well, next time. But I thought I saw 2 bedrooms upstairs being removed. And can you help me understand how that would enhance family get-togethers?
I don't believe there's anything on the plans that say of anything being removed as
The
far
top
as
of the steps?
bedrooms.
That area, again.
There is a doorway that goes out to a deck there right now. That door will be removed, and that'll be turned into a cased opening that will allow entrance into the new second-floor addition to the rear.
Okay.
If that's-
Perhaps it was my interpretation of the plans then.
That's okay, yeah.
So, okay. Yeah, I noticed the addition of the bathroom upstairs.
Correct.
Nice bathroom, with 2 sinks. Wow. Show my wife that one. But then the TV room and a nice office. Okay, well, I will look again at the plans. Thank you.
Sure, you're welcome.
Is that it for now?
Yes, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, considering the code's stated goals to regulate bulk and density to preserve character, how does the proposed addition, which does add mass and bulk, support rather than hinder those objectives?
I can't say that it would. I mean, we want to maintain the look of the home. We want to process through this without trying to go into the trade-off situation where we would have to compromise the existing structure and the history of it, and but still be able to allow them to get this extra room. But yes, it is most definitely, it's not adding more, it's adding more to bulk, but to my knowledge, it's not really adding to the density or the coverage because we are going over top of existing structure that is already being accounted for.
In the bulk density regulations, it does talk about, you have to have a 4-foot wall plane, different wall planes to give it some interest. And from looking on the west or from the south, ours will have different wall planes because it will be the addition and it will be the bathroom, which are, different wall planes, same from the west. And from the east, it'll be our house is a different wall plane than the addition. So we may be going around the edges of the bulk density there a little bit.
Thank you, Mr. McCready.
Thank you.
Jonathan?
So one of the stated goals was establishing home office space. Is there any intention of operating a home business?
No.
When my son-in-law and my daughter-in-law, two different marriages, when they come down, they like to work from here, and that the office space will allow them to work, but it's not going to be my business or a home business or anything like that.
Thank you, Mr. McCready. Anything else?
Can I ask a related question?
Of course.
How does the inability to construct the office constitute a unique hardship or injustice? Yep. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah. How does the inability to construct the office space constitute a hardship tied specifically to the property itself?
I'm not going to say, I think in that phrasing is not necessarily creating a hardship. It's the fact that, in its way, in the way we would look at it, or the way I would see it, it would in behalf of the McCreadys on being able to move forward and adding this additional space to have their family here with them when they're using it. So I'm not going to say that's actually creating a hardship, but it is with today's coding and the way the structure is, we can't make it work to today's, setbacks as far as the new addition will by far be inside the day's setbacks. But in order for us to do the trade-off chart, it would literally be impossible unless we were to basically destroy half of the existing structure so.
I see. Thanks.
Do you know whether the McCreadys discussed these plans with their neighbors?
I do not know.
I don't know that either. I do know with the application process, we did provide, I made a list of all
Understood.
the neighbors, they were supposed to be notified.
Yes. Yes, please.
We did talk to our neighbor to the west, Edna. Our neighbor to the east, Dicky, he's not around most of the time in the winter.
Right.
And I guess we didn't talk to anybody else.
Okay. May I ask you another question while you're there, Mr. McCready? Do you intend to change the landscaping of the lot in connection with these renovations?
No. We actually did, we got a lot of bamboo off of our lot and put down black stuff so the light couldn't get to it, and we recently took that up. There was a lot of poison ivy there too, we're working on that, but we're not doing anything landscaping-wise, no.
Not taking down any trees or
No.
anything of that nature?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Any further questions?
Yes, I do. One, if I'm looking at the plans correctly, looks like there will be a number of windows added in this renovation, should it go forward. Are you able to, what kind of windows are they?
The existing windows, we are proposing to put in Pella Reserve windows, which will match all the existing windows in the old existing structure itself that's dated back to the 1900s have been replaced with Pella windows in the past. So our intent was to match those existing windows that are in the rest of the structure to the T as far as color and style.
Okay, good, thank you. Thank you.
And just to back up to Susan's presentation, I trust that the public posting didn't elicit any negative responses from any neighbors or
No, it did
community
not.
members?
Promoting, sorry,
Closer to the,
yeah, promoting health and welfare through adequate light and air is a stated goal. And thinking of the neighborhood character, the increased mass that we're talking about, could you describe how it does uphold public good by the addition that you're creating?
I guess for public good, would allow the families to be here more, to use the rest of the restaurants in town, or to use the services to have more friends or relatives come to the property while they're there, and provide income maybe to the town or businesses here. As far as anybody going by the front of the property, I don't even think you would notice any change at all to the existing structure, and
So it's
even
respecting the
even see
physical
it.
context that is there now, is what you're saying.
I'm sorry?
You're respecting the physical context that is there now, is what you're saying.
Yes.
Thank you.
anything more?
No, thank you.
All right, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
At this point, we're going to close the presentation of evidence and proceed to deliberation. As chair of the board, and in accordance with the board's custom, I will proceed first in our deliberations to review the legal standards we apply in deciding applications for dimensional variances and to offer my initial views. We will then hear from each of the other board members in order of seniority. As stated earlier, applicants seek two variances. First, from section 425 zoning, attachment 5, trade-off chart for R1 and R1B districts under a maximum lot coverage of 40%, the requirement to add a minimum of 2 feet to either the front and/or side setbacks. Second, a variance from the maximum lot coverage of 40% requirement limiting front yard encroachments to those permitted by Appendix 3, footnote B. Article 5 of the town's zoning codes, Chapter 425, addresses non-conforming uses, structures, and lots. Section 425-35, subsection A, states in pertinent part that a structure or building which is non-conforming as to dimensions may be repaired, improved, altered, or enlarged, provided that the repair, improvement, alteration, or enlargement conforms to the requirements of this and other codes and does not increase any existing nonconformity of dimension or density. This provision seems to me to be satisfied in terms of the setback nonconformities, in that when focusing solely on the enlargement or addition, it would conform with the setback requirements, since the front setback would be well in excess of 20 feet. The side setbacks would be 7.3 feet on the east side, 7.2 feet on the west side, and the rear setback would be in excess of 45 feet. Again, that is all distance from the new addition. So when you're looking at the language of 425-35, it says that the repair, improvement, alteration, or enlargement conforms to the requirements. And so it does conform to those dimensional requirements. However, the town's bulk density code provisions cannot reasonably be satisfied without the variances which are sought, because with the trade-off chart that imposes the requirement that the front and/or side setbacks be increased, the existing setbacks are so limited. They're virtually from one side of the lot to the other and on the front of the house. It would be extremely disruptive and expensive to try to add to those elements of the structure without tearing out a lot of the existing structure. The second requirement is that no front yard encroachment can be permitted except as allowed by Appendix 3, footnote B. That limitation requires a minimum front setback of 10 feet. The existing structure is 7.4 feet from the front property line. Again, as a practical matter, it would be extremely difficult to satisfy that condition. So the variance requirements in the code specify that this chapter will be interpreted strictly. Variances are to be permitted only in those specific situations wherein a serious and clearly patent injustice, and not just a hardship, excuse me, would result from the literal application of these regulations. Section 425-105 of the code, which defines this board's powers and duties, states that, quote, the Board of Adjustment shall, in its activities and decisions, be limited by the wording and intent of Section 425-1. In this matter, the board is dealing with requests for variances from the bulk density provisions. This ordinance was enacted in 2016, was made effective according to its terms in 2017. 425 25-26A1 explains that the town council has determined that it is necessary to regulate the bulk density of residential buildings in the R1 and R1B zoning districts in order to fulfill the intent of the code as set forth in section 425-1. These new bulk density provisions are made applicable to new residential buildings and major renovations. The building inspector determined, based upon the extent of the construction involved, that the proposed project constitutes a major renovation. This determination seems reasonable to me based upon the evidence and has not been challenged before the board. Under section 425-105D of the town code, in considering an application for a variance from a dimensional requirement, the board is directed to consider whether, quote, owing to special conditions, a literal enforcement of the provisions would result in an unnecessary hardship or exceptional practical difficulties. And then the statute requires the board to find 4 specific standards are met. The first is extraordinary and exceptional conditions pertaining to the particular lot or structure in question. The applicants contend that the age and current structure of the house, which is outside today's setback lines, constitute extraordinary and exceptional circumstances. I think that the age of the structure is extraordinary and exceptional within the R1 zoning district, as is its historic nature. I was not aware that this was was the first house constructed in Bethany. I think that clearly evidences its historic significance. The second requirement we're to look to is the application of the code to this particular lot or structure would create an injustice. The applicants maintain that applying the bulk density provisions literally to this structure would create an injustice, in that it would prevent the owners from improving their historic home to allow a functional office space while preserving its architectural integrity and historical significance. This does appear to me as a situation where enforcement of the code provisions at issue would cause, quote, unnecessary hardship, close quote, or, quote, exceptional practical difficulties, close quote, in the context of section 425-105D of the zoning code. It would, if literally applied, require massive changes to the structure that currently exists, and severely impact the historic structure. The third element, the conditions are peculiar to the particular piece of property involved The applicant asserts that the conditions are unique due to the property's age and historical significance. It appears to me that they are at least highly unusual. I believe this standard has been satisfied. The fourth element, a variance, if granted, would not cause substantial detriment to the public good or impair the purpose or intent of the code. The applicant has pointed out that from the front view, the appearance of the house will be unchanged by the proposed addition. In addition, measured from the new portion of the structure, it would be within the current setback requirements. Overall, the lot coverage would not be increased. It does not appear to me that the public good would be adversely affected by granting the requested variances. Given the circumstances here involved and the unlikelihood of comparable circumstances, the variances sought should not impair in any significant way the purpose or intent of the bulk density provisions of the zoning code. The board, in addition to the statutory standards in the town code that I just reviewed, must also comply with the Delaware Supreme Court's holdings in the Quick Check case, where the focus is on the exceptional practical difficulties test and its articulation of 4 factors to be considered. The first of those factors is the nature of the zone in which the property lies. In this case, the variances are sought for improvements to a residence in a residential zone. So it appears that this standard is satisfied. The second, the character of the immediate vicinity and the uses contained therein. It does appear that the variances sought would allow improvements to a residence that would conform to the character of the immediate vicinity and uses. The third element is whether the setback restrictions, if removed, would seriously affect neighboring properties. The evidence demonstrates that the structure is already non-conforming in several respects, but there have been no objections from neighboring property owners to the variances that are sought. This fact and the absence of any evidence of adverse impacts on neighboring properties, in my view, supports the conclusion that the variances would not seriously affect neighboring properties. And the fourth element of the Quick Check test is whether, if the restriction is not removed, it would create exceptional practical difficulty for the owner to make normal improvements. I conclude that when you consider the impact on neighboring properties and balance that with the impact on the owners of requiring literal enforcement of the provisions, I think that the balance is clearly in favor of allowing the variances. In my opinion, I would be in favor of granting the variances as they are requested. And I look forward to hearing the opinions of my fellow board members.
Thank you, Mike. In my view, the standard for criteria for granting the variance have not been met. However, given this house and the age and historical nature and the desire of the owners to improve it, it's my opinion that granting the variance is in the best interest of the owners, the town, and the neighbors, and I think we should grant the variance. Thank you.
Yeah, speak up. This variance request warrants approval as it represents a reasonable modification to what we learned today, a historically significant home facing unique constraints. The proposed addition is designed to remain strictly within the established setback lines, and it respects the physical context, the existing physical context, and preserves the home's primary historical presentation, as we heard from the street view. Granting relief from the lot coverage under these conditions poses minimal impact. It also avoids imposing undue hardship on the owners seeking reasonable family use aligned with the town's character. It does not undermine the public good or fundamental intent of the code to manage neighborhood character respectfully.
Jonathan?
I would say I agree with the comments made by my fellow board members. I would add also that just the importance of home office space, I view that very, very differently now than I would have perhaps 10 or 15 years ago with technological advances and the prevalence of work at home and so forth. I almost view having home office space as being kind of an indispensable element of a home. So I do see how it would create a practical hardship if we didn't allow, a variance allowing for that particular use.
Thank you. Excuse me. The evidentiary phase of the proceeding has been concluded. We're now in deliberations among the board members. You're welcome to say anything you want after we close this. I was addressing Mr. McCready with that. So do we have a motion to approve the variances as requested?
Yes, motion to approve.
Second. All in favor, please raise your hand. Say aye.
Aye.
All are in favor. And the variances are granted as requested. And there will be a written decision either in the form of the transcript of this proceeding or a separate written decision. With that, at 3:08, this hearing is concluded. Thank you very much.
Comes in handy, it's not the technical